You could be forgiven for not knowing about the new blockbuster film Nightshade. That's because it's a fictional film at the center of a new novel starring, or make that written by, Tom Hanks. This is Hanks' first novel, and earlier this week he talked with Jeffrey Brown in New York about it and his own love of making movies for our arts and culture series, Canvas.
I'm a school teacher.
Take a blockbuster film, one starring, say, Tom Hanks.
Sometimes I wonder if I've changed so much, my wife is even going to recognize me whenever it is I get back to her.
We know Hanks and perhaps the famous director. But what of all those names in the credits? One day, Tom Hanks, the author, realized he had a story to tell about them.
My editor said, "You should write a novel next." And I said, "You're right, I should. What should it be about?" And he said, "You live in a pretty rarefied world that would be an interesting thing to read about. You know, everybody just assumes they like movies and they know how movies are made." I said, "Well, then isn't that something to write about?" And I said, "You're exactly right." And right at that moment, the book landed in my head.
The result, the making of another major motion picture masterpiece. Parts end up, all love letter to an industry.
Where does your ambition come to write a novel like that?
Well, I can't help, I wake up with stories in my head and I wake up with questions that I want to ask of people. I know this is new to everybody, but you should
Hanks draws on what he knows from his storied career.
An excellent lawyer.
A two-time Oscar winner for Philadelphia in 1993 and Forrest Gump a year later. Some 100 films from the youthful Big through Saving Private Ryan to more recently A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood,
My neighbor,
which brought us together in 2019. Hanks is a world-famous star, but one who loves the process and the stories of people behind it.
I do this thing, like when I'm watching particularly an old movie, right? A movie made before 1959, and there's a crowd scene, and it takes place at night, and they shot it on the back lot at Paramount, okay?
Place you're familiar with.
I'm familiar with. I shot Bosom Buddies on the back lot at Paramount.
See, it's all perfectly normal.
If there is a taxi and a bus and pedestrians, every single one of those people showed up from their apartments, from their houses.
They had to get there.
They had to get
took the
there,
bus,
they had
or
to be
drove.
put in wardrobe, they had to be told what to do, they had to stand around and wait, they had to drive on the thing, they had to do all this stuff. And at the beginning of every shot, there is a moment of controlled chaos. Quiet, 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 we're rolling, we're rolling, we're rolling, background and action. That has gone into every single shot in motion picture history. The mechanics of that, to me, is as fascinating as those kind of like documentaries of how it is made. How is it made? Well, it's made over a long haul with very particular tasks that have to be solved.
The novel follows the making of a film in 2020, filled with rich characters, including director Bill Johnson, chapter headings direct from the film process itself, even pages from the fictional screenplay. But Hanks goes further to give us a backstory that begins in 1947 and a made-up comic book which would lead to the made-up film decades later.
Comic books were the original versions of storyboards for motion pictures, so that now when you read storyboards for movies...
You see it that way, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, exactly, and particularly the comic book at the end. This would be literally like the storyboards that you would see close-ups of eyes, a thing like that. Somebody up floating up like that. The script gives you a description of what you're going to see, but the storyboards are actually what you are going to see.
And the novel is a form of telling us how that works.
Exactly, yeah.
In 2017, Hanks published a book of short stories titled Uncommon Type. We spoke then about the move to fiction, and now, with the more ambitious storytelling of a novel, about how it differs from his work in film.
As novelist, you are the storyteller.
Novelist, I get to do the whole shebang, and I get to get into the heads of the people and the motivations of the people and the weaknesses of the people, as well as the strengths. A lot of times actors are given way too much credit for the end result of the movie that they are in, but in fact, we shot that one day. I mean, we twisted ourselves in the knot in order to give unto the camera something that was ephemeral only and logical only unto ourselves. And then a director and a screenwriter and an editor and a whole phalanx of people ended up taking that and sometimes twisting around just enough, moving it around so it becomes something a little different than what you brought to it. And I could walk you through any of the movies that I've been in which on the day that I shot it, I was just trying to carry an idea from one room into the next. But in the final moment of the film, with the rest of the story, with the other performances, with the cut, with the score, it has become a much, much, much more important building block in the movie than I ever anticipated.
The making of a movie, as we see in your novel, looks like a series of plans and then accidents, right?
Yeah.
Piled on top of each other. When you look at the arc of a career, how much plan, how much accident, how much
Well, I'm going to say
serendipity.
that in the younger days, I actually thought there was a ton of stuff that you could control, or you could make happen, or you could force manifest into it. Like, I'm going to wear it like this, I'm going to say it like this, and I'm going to make this decision, and this movie will impact that movie. The fact is, you begin at square one every time. Nothing you've done up to that point warrants anything that you can assume is going to be in the palm of your hand going into it. You can only show up on time. You can only know the text and I don't mean just your own dialogue, I mean know the material that you're making.
You really feel that? I mean, after all the success, Tom Hanks walks into, and that says something.
I will tell you this, sometimes there's a number of people that can walk in and allow the thing to be made in the first chance. I'll try to drop my own name like I'm a big shot here.
Okay.
Then you can say, we got Hanks. So therefore we'll get our financing. Why? Because we got Hanks. We're okay. We got Hanks. And then I show up and we start.
That's how I'm feeling right now.
Okay,
I got
I'm glad.
Hanks. Yeah.
Okay. But then when you start doing that, you realize that, well, that got you the financing, but that doesn't guarantee you the output. It doesn't necessarily warrant the theme of the movie that you make is good enough in order to withstand the people's attention for 2.5 hours. Better about 110 minutes. I find the 110-minute movie is an awfully good movie, just under 2 hours.
You planning to keep writing?
Oh yeah. I don't know what, but I like to consider myself to be a writer with a day job, and the day job's pretty glamorous sometimes.
Where are you?
Asteroid City, farmer.
Tom Hanks returns to his day job in June in the film Asteroid City. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in New York.
And there is much more online where Tom Hanks talks about the writer's strike and the changing economics of his industry. You can see that on our YouTube page.
And don't